Hi everyone, we are back with Grade 3, Module 2, Lesson 4. I can solve word problems involving time intervals within 1 hour by counting backward and forward using the number line and clock. Here are our standards: 3MD2, fluently add and subtract within 1,000, and 3MD1, tell and write time to the nearest minute. So remember, you should be practicing skip counting by sevens, and by eights, and by nines, and fives too, especially since we're doing time. So let's do that right now. We're going to skip count around the clock. We're going to start with 12. So remember, the long hand tells us the minutes, and when we count by minutes, we count by fives. We actually start, we put our finger on this 12, but we say 0 because this is clock time, like 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So we have 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. 60 minutes make 1 hour. So one rotation of the minute hand on the clock makes 1 hour. Let's take a look at this clock here. This clock shows the shorter hand, which is the hour hand. It's a little bit between the 11 and the 12. And then the minute hand, which is here, shows the minutes. So always fall back. Remember, when this shorter hand is between the two numbers. So this one's going to be 11 something. Okay, not 12, but 11 something. So it's 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. Now the minute hand is between 20 and 25. So we stop counting at 20, and then we're going to go 21, 22, 23. I would say that clock shows 11:23. Okay, so to show 11:23, we would have the hour here, 11, and then this is called a colon, and then 23 is how many minutes past 11 we have. So that would be 23 minutes past 11. Let's take a look at this clock. So for this clock, we would notice that the shorter hand is between the 9 and 10. So the shorter hand tells us the hour, and it would be 9. Remember, we fall, if it's between these two numbers, we always fall back. So down here, I will put a 9. Let me write it in. 9. And then I'm going to make my colon. Okay, so now we need to do some skip counting to find out where the longer arm of our clock is. Starting at 0, 5, 10, 15. So it's between 15 and 20. So we're going to do 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. I would say that is right at the 17-minute mark. So I'm going to write in 17. So the time on this clock is 9:17, or 17 minutes past 9 o'clock. All right, let's take a look at this story problem. It says Patrick and Lily start their chores at 5 o'clock p.m., so they both start at 5. The clock and the number line show the times that Patrick and Lily finish their chores. Who finishes first? All right, so let's take a look at Patrick. We're showing time, but we're showing it two different ways. So this way is on the number line, which we've been practicing. So they set up the number line. It starts at 5. This is 5:05, 5:10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So this is 5:30. And now I'm going to count by 1. So this is 5:31. So Patrick started his, finished his at 5:31. Okay, let's take a look at Lily's. So Lily has the hour hand between the 5 and 6, right? So she started, we go back to 5. This is 5 something. So now we're going to figure out where the minute hand falls. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. This is 40, 41, 42, 43. So Lily ended hers at 5:43. So her clock would say 5:43. All right, let's go back to our problem. It says, Patrick and Lily start their chores at 5, so they both start at 5. It took Patrick 31 minutes to finish hers, and it took Lily 43 minutes to finish hers. They want to know who finished first. Well, Patrick was the winner here. He finished first. So in the answer spot, you would write Patrick. So you always want to watch what the question is asking us. Sometimes it's numbers, and sometimes it might be a name, right? So we'll say Patrick. I'll go Pat for short on this one. Okay, so the next one says, how many more minutes did Lily take to finish her chore than Patrick? So for something like this, we're going to be doing some subtraction. This is called elapsed time, and we have been working on this also. So we can do some counting on, or we can do some straight subtraction, but we have to think about, all right, so he stopped at 5:31, and she stopped at 5:43. So I could actually plot her time on the timeline, couldn't I? So here's 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 40. So 43 would be between 40 and 45, 41, 42, 43. I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot. I'm going to plot a dot where her time was. So let me grab the pencil. And I'm going to put a dot where she was on this timeline. And when we were doing this in our live lessons, we were talking about how we could find elapsed time by counting from spot to spot. And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so for something like this, we have a lot of options. We could count by ones because they are so close, aren't they? But I could also just think about my intervals or my spaces in between. So we know that from here to here is 5 minutes. We've talked about this a lot in our groups. Oops, that's 5 minutes. So I could say 5 minutes here, plus this 1 is 6, 7, 8, and 9 minutes here, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the answer to this would be 12 minutes have elapsed between, it took Lily 12 minutes more than Patrick. There are a lot of ways to count elapsed time. The ways we've been practicing have been plotting the numbers on the timelines and then counting on from there. You could skip count by 5 if they're farther apart, and then slow down and count by 1. That's another option. Okay, kids, for something like this, it says we started writer's workshop at 10:15 a.m. and we worked for 23 minutes. What time did we end? I would draw a timeline, and I would start it at 10 and end it at 11 because 10:15 falls between 10 and 11. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, I think. So if you have your writing utensils with you, you can start, do this with me. So you draw a straight line, and then I am going to put my arrows on the ends, and then I need to put my tick marks in between, right? So I'm starting at, this would be 10, this would be 10:05, 10:10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So this should be 11 o'clock down here. So I'm going to double check my number line because you want to double check it to make sure it's not wrong. So if I do this correctly, this would be 10 o'clock or 10 o'clock a.m. That would be in the morning, right down here. Okay, so we're starting at 10. And then if I did it correctly, this down here would be 11 o'clock a.m. So all of these little marks in between would be 5-minute marks. So this would be 10:05, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 till we get to the 11 o'clock. Now, if I wanted to mark 10:15 a.m. on my number line, I would plot that like we had been practicing. So let me grab maybe a stamper. I'll plot it with a star. So we have 10 here, 10:05, 10:10, 10:15. So just to point out, when you do plot numbers, you would plot them directly where the tick mark goes like this, and then the number line is underneath. Okay, so this is going to be 10:15. So this is 10:15 a.m. where my star is. I'll kind of label that for you. All right, now we need to think they worked for 23 minutes. What time did we end? So, okay, so we have to go at 10:15 and we're going to go 5, 10, 15, 20. So 10, this would be 20 minutes, and we still need to add those 23 more minutes on. So let me grab a little tool to draw with. Okay, so we said 10:15, there's 5, 10, 15, here's 20 minutes. 21, 22, 23. So right here, right at that spot right there, that is where we ended. So now I need to figure out what time that is. So this was 10:15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36, 37, 38. So that time right there is 10:38. So I could say, all right, 38. And that is where, right there, I'll put another stamp right there. 10:38 is right there. And that is what time we ended. So I could write 10:38 down here as my answer.